Cool. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Um, who are you?
I am I am Jack Critchlow. I'm a singer-songwriter, producer, artist, all that stuff. I do lots of different things, whether it's my own artist projects or I'm also a songwriter and producer for other people, and kind of just do the 360 of everything that you can do as a musician these days and cover all areas and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's me. Who are
Sorry.
you?
Oh, you idiot. People don't need to know who I am.
Okay.
Sorry, I am paying attention. I just drank this coffee and it tastes very sour, so I think the milk might have gone
Okay,
off.
that's fine.
I'm gonna put that on the side. Um, yeah, I feel like you kind of just you do everything, and I had no clue because I saw you. Like, I knew you were a singer,
Yeah.
and then I knew you wrote your own songs. That was it. And then out of nowhere, you're like, "Yeah, I do this production." I was like, "Oh shit, I had
Yeah.
no clue."
I like to do it because you can go into someone else's world for a little bit, and you can remove yourself. I'm sure you have the same thing. Whereas you do when you do work for other people, you can kind of take yourself out of it and just cater for what someone else wants. You probably have the same thing when you've done stuff for me. It's like you can live in someone else's world musically, which is quite nice.
But do you not feel like, because I feel like even when I do your stuff, I'm like, okay, what does Jack want? But I'm also like, how can I keep my kind of.
There's a balance to be found. I
Yeah.
find is that you need to obviously you have your own taste that needs to come into it as well. But it's finding that middle ground between what they want and what you want, which hopefully you can find. Sometimes it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
And you've kind of sometimes got to go a bit far to what they want because they're the client, let's say. But I think there's a nice middle ground to be found.
Yeah. So. Do you ever find it annoying when, even though obviously I love having my own creative like ideas, when the client is like, I say client, when the person's like, you can do like whatever you want, and you're like, okay, but do you have anything you want me to do specific? And they're like, no.
Yeah, that's the worst.
I really hate it when people do that.
Like my dream is what I always say when I'm doing production, particularly for people, is I want at least like 3 reference tracks, just sort of something that good, people like. Obviously, you don't want to just copy something, but I find it, I guess there's a nice element to be free, do your own thing, which I have had with people. But it can lead to a lot of time wasting because you can go really far down a path that they really don't like. Or go completely off what they wanted. Sometimes that can work really well. Or sometimes it is a complete waste of time and you end up going right back to the start. So for me, I like to have, even if they're not specific, I want this, just a kind of sonic world in which people want their track to sit
kind
in.
of vibe.
But often you don't get that, you just got to make do, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
It's also, if people, actually I say all my friends, I'm like, if you don't like something I've done, like tell me and I will change it. And then they're like, yeah, it's okay. And then I hear from someone else that actually that doesn't happen often, but like sometimes I hear from someone else, they're like, oh, I wish this had happened instead. And I'm like, you literally could have told me and I would have done it.
You didn't hear that about me, did you?
No. I think that happened, to be fair, when that happened, it was like years, it was quite a while ago. So it hasn't been recently. You
always want honesty when it comes to these things because there's no right or wrong. And I try to never take it personally because you can't, and you just have to accept that people might like it, people don't like it, and I always try to find a point where I like it and think that they'll like it, but you never really know. So I think it's important just to be straight and honest, and that's the worst thing when you feel like they've said that they like it and then actually you hear that they don't, or then suddenly I've had it where they said they like it and then we go even further down the line and then they get to a point where they're like, oh no, I'm not sure this is it. And then you're like, I think it's in this game it's definitely good to be honest early on if you like it, and then you save any complication down the line. So
do you ever feel like you're sending off like your baby, and like obviously not literally, but I remember in the gospel gig I was kind of like, I really hope everyone likes these arrangements, I really hope people think they're okay, like I
have a massive thing with that. And I it's part of the reason, one of the things I love most about doing production or songwriting for other people is that feeling of like when you play it to someone else and they really love it. That's why whenever I do a production for someone where they'll send me like a demo and I'll do the production, I always like to play it to them when they're in the room, because
you get live
it's that
reaction.
kind of live reaction that you can't recreate that. And you can really feel, there's a bit of an awkwardness there about it, and sometimes particularly the artist finds it a bit awkward, but for me, you can always tell really clearly whether they say it or not, if they do like it or if they don't like it. And also when they do like it, as a kind of selfish thing, I really like to see the reaction when someone really loves it, because I feel like I've done a good job here. But it is nerve-wracking, when you're kind of putting yourself out there every time you write a song or every time you do an arrangement. It's like you're putting a piece of you out there for people to judge. And it can go both ways. But I think that's why we love doing it, is because when it lands, I think that's the biggest, where I get the biggest happiness out of making music, is when you see it connect with other people. So
I think that's what I really admire about people who especially people who write lyrics. I can't remember if I spoke about this on a past episode, maybe not, but because the lyrics especially, they're so, well, obviously depending on what lyrics you write, they can be so vulnerable, and it is literally like you out there. And obviously with music you can do the same, but it's not as literal as, like, people don't get an immediate of an effect as with lyrics. I'm always really impressed by songwriters who can do that.
Lyrics is funny with lyrics. I almost find the more, for me personally anyway, the more vulnerable I am with lyrics, I almost feel more comfortable putting it out there than when I'm less vulnerable about it. Because like 2-3 years ago, when I used to make music, like, my lyrics were really bad. Like, I'll be the first to say they were really bad, and they were so unauthentic. And I almost find that more exposing and embarrassing than a song that's really, really personal and really vulnerable, because I think that's quite nice about something, wearing your heart on your sleeve and just kind of saying it how it is. And I think people connect with that. Whereas I now am at a point where if I put something out where the lyrics aren't authentic or a bit half-assed, I think it's people see through that quite a lot. So as a lyricist, one thing I've really tried to hone in on the last few years, and I've kind of put up I always make sure when I've written a song, I'm like, is this true to what I'm trying to say? Is it true to me? Because I think people see through things so easy with lyrics. And it's probably the most exposing thing over the music, as you say, because you're telling a story with it and you're having to be like really specific and honest about it. But I think there's also a really nice element to that. And one thing I love is when you put out a song or play someone a song, is them kind of figuring out what it's about, and then they have questions about it, and like, that's the stuff I like. Whereas if lyrics can be just a bit half-assed, they don't really mean anything, it's just a bit like throwaway to me, I think.
So I think I can't, again, I might have mentioned this before, but like lyrics that are really well written to me are just so good. But certain singers who I'm not going to mention the name of because I don't want to get hate, but certain singers who are like popping off in this industry like right this second, I absolutely hate their lyrics.
It's tough, isn't it?
I mean, they probably didn't write them, probably someone else wrote them, but like whenever I hear their songs like on the radio, I'm like, I hate it so much.
It is tricky, like, because you don't have to cover all the world's problems in a song when you talk. We talk about great songs and great lyrics, that cover really meaningful topics, and I think this is really powerful. It's something I've tried to do, but also there's no harm in just kind of writing a song that's just about being in love with someone, or about your other half, or all this. There's no harm in it. I think it's just doing it in an authentic way. I think that's the biggest thing about being an artist, is authenticity, and making sure. And I see what you mean, that there's so much music you can tell and I've done this so much, particularly in like dance music or like really commercial pop music, is it's like a machine. It's very like handcrafted. There's a formula, and everyone sticks to that formula because it has been proven to work. But it can get just a bit like samey and not particularly meaningful. So I see what you mean.
But I guess there's a difference between like that type of like commercial music and like music that's like from the artist. Actually, how do I say this? Like music that's made for other people specifically, and music that's made for the artist, if that makes sense. Like the sake of writing, like, I don't know, hold on, how do I say this? Do you know what I mean?
Kind of.
Like, maybe someone who puts music out there because that's the way they get their emotions through the music, and they release like their emotions and like their things like through music, and they release music like for themselves, compared to people who release music for the mass enjoyment of people.
Yeah, I think you can. I find it's a really interesting topic. I have this conversation with so many people because, you know, music should be made for yourself, and it should be made for your own enjoyment and your own kind of release of that emotion. And then there's the argument of, well, if music has that function, then why release it? You know, I've had this conversation with people who are like, I don't care what other people think. Like, I'm just making music for myself, music that I love, which I completely agree with, and that's something I try to do. But then there's the kind of argument of, then why release it? Why do you care when people like it or people don't like it? Because if music's for yourself, then why don't share it with other people? But for me, it's always been like, yes, music's for myself, and I always try to make music that I love the most. And there's a certain element that you have to have if you don't care what other people think. But for me, it's like, you want people to resonate or connect with what you're doing. And again, there's like a middle ground to be found where you're doing it for yourself and you're respecting your own emotion and making sure to always be authentic to that. But also there's an element of music is for the masses. It's for people to enjoy. And, you know, how many times in our lives has music got us through something? And that's thanks to someone else. A lot of the time, thanks to someone else writing a song that we really connect to. And, you know, often the subject that's mainly covered in music, particularly pop music, is love, and a worldwide thing that we all go through. And whether it's someone talking about a personal experience, it can normally be relatable to so many people around the world. So I think it's always important to, in my opinion, get music out and share music with other people, because you never know who will connect with it or what it might do for someone. But making music to try and reach the masses or try and cater for the audience, like you see it so much with TikTok, people make music that they think will reach lots of people. And I've fallen for this before, and I'm not judging people who do it, because it's kind of a part of the game nowadays. With TikTok, you've got to make a really commercial song, or a song that will hit in the first 30 seconds or the first 3 seconds so that people will connect with it. But I've often found when you try to do that, it loses authenticity, or it loses that kind of personal, the art of the music is lost, because it's all about how commercial is it, how easy can it sell, how many views will it get, or like all this stuff. So it's kind of an impossible middle ground to find. That you've kind of, I think the easiest way is just to make music you love, and if you love it enough, there'll be enough people out there, I think, who'll connect with it as well.
Yeah, but there's always a niche for something, I'm sure. It's like a little Venn diagram.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I've been using those a lot recently, just like one thing, but then there's a middle ground rather than just... Wow, we've got very deep very quickly. I was going to say, do you have any nicknames or things that people have called you?
I get a lot of nicknames.
Really?
My nickname for my mum when I was younger was Bloggins, and I don't really know. I can't even tell you why.
Okay.
She's always called me that, and it's actually, now I'm thinking about it, it's like, why have I never questioned why she calls me that? But she used to call me that, and then I get Critch a lot.
Yeah.
What else do I get? It's just, I normally just get called my second name, just like Critchlow. But like Jack, Jack's just, you can't really like make a nickname out of Jack. No, it's just Jack. Freddie Steggles makes a lot of like questionable nicknames about me, but I'm not going to call him out on this because most of them are quite inappropriate.
Okay.
But yeah, Critch and Critchlow I get a lot. I don't know. How about you? Do you get nicknames?
Me? Oh, in school, I think I went through this phase in year 7 up until year 10, year 9 or something, where I would get everyone to call me Jay.
That's quite cool.
It is, but I don't know why. And then year 11, I went back to Jeanette.
Yeah.
But there are certain people in my life who still call me Jay.
Really?
So like people who call me Jay, I know that I met them during like that
time.
But I do say something like, please just call me Jeanette.
Yeah, Jeanette's you can't really shorten Jeanette to anything like other than J, I guess.
Like
it's like
Jean,
like Jen.
Yeah. Actually, you know Jose in the cafe?
Yeah.
He always calls me Jen.
Really?
And I don't know if it's because he doesn't know my name or if it's just because he's decided to shorten it anyway. But I don't have the hearts to correct him, but he's the only person who calls me Jen.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny because I used to have that with my primary school canteen lady.
Mm-hmm.
She called me Tom, like for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I just never had the balls to correct her.
Yeah.
But I should I was her favorite student. She'd always say, "Oh, hi Tom, what do you want today?" I was like, "Oh." Hopefully she never found out because I'm really embarrassing.
I don't know if she's watching. I mean, the likelihood of her watching this is very low. But...
That'd be funny.
But I feel like, I don't know, with some people, if they call me a nickname, I'm like, don't do that whatsoever. But with Jose, like, he's so lovely. I'm kind of just like, you know what, it's kind of fine. Yeah. Like, I don't hate it.
At least he's got half your name right.
Yeah, you know? Jen
Etz, yeah.
I have got a teddy bear on my viola. Sorry, I'm talking about me. But I've got a teddy bear on my viola, and it's got a little T-shirt, and it says Jean on it, and everyone's always like, "What does Jean stand for?" And I'm like Jeanette. And they're like, "Oh," and then it's like a really awkward silence afterwards. Yeah. But no one ever realizes. No,
yeah.
I should like stitch it on, say Etz at the end, so it's Jen.
What teddy is it? Like, is it
just like
animal?
just a little bear. Like I think it's about this big.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, on my viola.
That's nice.
I used to have a cap, then it got torn up because I just fling my viola around everywhere. Apparently.
Poor cat.
I know. It was really. To be fair, it was my mum's, and she'd had it like since she was 30. So it's been
passed through the generations.
Yeah, so I think it was kind of time. In a sense, for a stuffed cat. I don't know. Yeah. So going back to your writing, what kind of like your main influences that you draw from? Like, do you have any certain artists you like, or like, I guess like we kind of spoke about it earlier in like in terms of life experiences.
Yeah. I mean, I try to listen and embrace so much music. I always find it really difficult when I get asked like who specifically like inspires you, because I think it's a culmination of so many people that's impossible to put into like one thing. Like there's people like, one of my favorite older artists is Billy Joel, and I'm a big fan of Prince, and then newer artists, I'm a big 1975 fan. But they're kind of like artists that, you know, I really love, but they're kind of just at the top of so many artists. And I'm such a lover of older music. I'm a lover of new music and kind of everything in between. But when it comes to writing, I try not to draw too specifically off, you know, I'm trying to write a song like this or write a song like this. I kind of just let it flow and let's see what happens. And I normally write when I'm going through something or feeling particularly inspired emotionally, and then that normally brings out the kind of song that I want to write. So yeah, I try not to, you know, focus my attention when I'm writing too much on other songs or anything like that. But I'm just listening to music all the time, like all the time. Like walking here, I listen to music, or when I'm in the car, I listen to music, and I just try. You know, people always say talking about songwriting is the more you listen to, the more skills you'll then have, or more, you know, you're only able to create what you've already like processed and been given in your own ears. So I just try to listen to as much as I can, and then that all then feeds into my own writing. So,
is there any music you don't listen to?
Yeah, like heavy metal, which we've spoken about before.
Oh, we have, yeah, we have.
I feel like that's such a basic answer though. Like when you ask anyone, like, what music don't you listen to? Like heavy metal. What music don't I listen to? I don't know. There's genuinely not a lot that I don't listen to. Like, I don't listen to too out there music, I think is the easiest way of putting it. Like so I think there's some music which just confuses me a bit too much.
Yeah.
I'm never one to be like, this is bad. Like this is like, it just doesn't kind of sit in my world.
You just don't understand it.
I don't really maybe understand it.
Yeah.
But I try to appreciate when I'm listening to music that I don't necessarily like. I try to appreciate why they like it or why people would like it. But yes, stuff that's a bit too out there, like heavy metal or like, so, you know, that's such a basic answer, but like just it's a bit too weird for my normal world, because I kind of sit more in a, you know, you'd say in more in a pop world.
Yeah.
And that's kind of more where I sit. But I try to embrace, like, to be honest, I try to embrace all of it where I can.
Yeah.
Like if someone plays me something, even if I don't like it, I'll still try and hear it and hear what they like about it, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, Faz. I don't know. I feel like it's like, oh, it's the typical like, you know, when people ask you on like talking stage dates, like, what music do you listen to?
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh, I listen to everything. Then you actually ask them, they're like, no. But you do seem like someone who does listen to most things.
Yeah, I mean, I know what I listen to. Like, I listen to a lot of like 70s music. I listen to a lot of 70s like funk music. I listen to a lot of, you know, your Prince, David Bowie. I listen to Billy Joel. I like all those kind of like big artists that were in like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
But then I go from everything from there, listening to like, you know, 90s hip hop, or like nowadays I listen to, you know, bands like the 1975 and like more indie music.
Yeah.
Nothing But Thieves, Fontaines DC. But then also like there's two artists called McGee and Dijon, who are like really like kind of sit in their own sonic world, who I really love. And then like I went to see the Rolling Stones and AC/DC last year.
Did you actually?
Oh,
like, I'm so jealous.
Like you can't really put them all together. Like it's just I just kind of love so many different sides of music.
To be fair, I didn't realize you liked the 1975, but since you said that, I'm like, okay, I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah. What I love about the 1975 is they just like sit in a world where you can go to their gigs and they'll make you cry, and then they'll make you dance, and they'll make you like they just resonate with me so much lyrically and sonically. Like the stuff that, you know, growing up as a teenager, like people who don't like the 1975 always say, I just don't get it, like what is it? And I think being a 16-year-old, going through the things you go through as a 16-year-old, and having the 1975 music, it just resonated. It just clicked. And it was the same for so many of my mates. And I think the people who like the 1975 like the 1975 when they were like 16. I think they're the people who connect with it. Like all the people who I know who don't like them are people who've come across them in their early adult life, from 18 to like early 20s. They're kind of like, what is this? And I think it's more of like a process that you have to get on earlier.
I'm gonna change that, because my friend loved it when she was like 15, like loved the 1975, like 15, 16, and I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Why are you so obsessed with
Really?
it? But then like the past year, I've got all their music and like some of their songs, like I Always Want to Die is one of my favorites. Yeah. But I think it's because actually I really like their most recent album, the guy in the middle of the thing.
Yeah.
That's my favorite album, and then I feel like as it goes back, I enjoy it less.
Really? That's interesting. Well, I think they've gone on an upward trajectory since their first album.
Yeah.
That's, you completely contradicted everything I just said.
I was gonna say I've completely.
But I just think they're particularly lyrics. I mean, their production and like the vibe of everything is that I love, but like the way that like Matty crafts lyrics is just so, like, if you take that like newest album, like Tell Me You Love Me Because That's All I Need to Hear, like that's just such like a powerful lyric that it's just like so well crafted. Or like that I Always Want to Die is such like it's just like a powerful song. Or Love It If We Made It, I think, is one of their best songs, which is, you know, such a powerful song, which is talking about the state of the world that we're in. And just, I think its lyrics are just really well crafted. Sorry, I'm not just here to like actively promote the 1975. I always somehow get onto the 1975 when I'm talking to people.
To be fair, because you know the first lyrics of I Was Gonna Die is like, I bet you thought your life would change, but you're stuck on a train again.
Yeah.
The number of times I've listened to that song whilst on a train journey from Manchester to London or there and back, and every time I'm like, but
that's the thing. It's like,
again.
They talk about the point of life that we're in, you know, where you're kind of figuring out things you don't really understand, like what you're trying to be, or you're going up trying all these different things, and you're trying to figure out who you are as a person, and all this stuff, and like careers and love and being a teenager and all that, you know, all this. I think it's that in a nutshell is what they cover.
Yeah.
Which I think is why people our age resonate with them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think they're great. But anyway.
On that note, what's been your favorite gig that you've done? It can be recently or like ever.
That I've done or I've been to see.
That you've done. Oh, actually, that we've been to see. Actually, maybe what you've done first, and then.
My favorite gig that I've done would be the first gig I did in Leeds. Actually, there's no. We'll do that one. The first gig I did in Leeds, which was in 2023. And I played at Porto in Leeds. It was a really cool venue in Leeds. And it was the first I played in Manchester and London, and I'd never played really anywhere else. And being from nearish Leeds, I had quite a lot of friends there, and it was just really fun. The venue was amazing. The sound was really, really, really good, and it, especially when you're playing kind of grassroots venues, the sound can be very hit or miss, and it can be the make or break of a gig. But with this, it was literally like the sound was perfect, and when you sound or you think you sound good, it makes the process so much more enjoyable. And it was just really fun. It was a packed out room, and it was like a lot of my mates, and it was just like a really good gig, and it always sits with. I've played there since, and even that gig's up. The one we did since is up there. It's one of my favorite gigs because it was just a venue with great sound is always so much fun. And my favorite gig I've seen, it's so tricky. I saw Rihanna in 2016.
Really?
Which, like, I say it's up there because to say that you've seen Rihanna is like a bit of a flex. Like,
that's such a flex.
Like, not many people have seen Rihanna, and that was pretty crazy. But I was like, I think it was earlier than 2016. Like, it was quite a while ago. That's up there. I mean, the Rolling Stones, I saw in LA last year, was pretty crazy. But that's because it's like, you know, the Rolling Stones. So that's pretty mad.
Yeah.
But I think Rihanna's up there with like my kind of once in a lifetime experience of seeing some, like, you know, seeing the 1975. I've seen them like 7 times, so that, you know, each time is different. But with that's probably my standalone best gig, I'd say.
Yeah.
So,
You did a gig at the Bedford recently in London.
Yeah.
It looked. I've only seen the pictures, but it looked really cool.
It was really cool. It's a really cool venue, and it's kind of done in a really nice way where it's seated, but it's got a balcony around the top, where, you know, people can stand. So it's just a very nice kind of intimate vibe.
Was that after the Tim Burgess support?
That was the week of the Tim Burgess support. So it was a week.
How was that as well?
That was cool. It was an amazing gig to get because it was like a room of like 800 people. It was, the sound was, we ran into a few sound issues. You know, as I say, sound can often be the make and break of a gig. And with that one, they had so many things already going on in the main gig that when it came to our support, we were cut a little bit in terms of what we could do. And time-wise, we also cut quite a lot on our sound check. So when we went on stage, that was basically our sound check. But it was a great experience, you know, and the, you know, audience was great, and so many people came down early to see our set, which is always really nice. You know, being a support, you never know if people will come down early, but with that, it was basically a packed out room, so it was cool, good fun.
Are you? Wait, no, not are you. What was I going to say? Who's in your band? That's it. I was going to ask who's in your band.
My band is Luke Pudney on guitar, Dan Orchard on bass, Sachin Patel on drums, and Connor O'Hara on keys.
Wow, sick.
Solid band.
Sick band, yeah.
Great. We've been playing together for 4 years now. We did our first gig literally just down the road from here, Retro, in first
No
year.
way, yeah, down that way, yeah.
Down that way, yeah. And it's mad. We were talking about it the other day because, well, back in January, it was like 4 years since that gig. And there's one song that's made it all the way from that first gig that we still play now. There's only one that we still do, which we found quite funny because we've literally played so many gigs and been through so many songs.
What song is that?
It's called Come Back Home. You probably haven't heard it.
I don't think so.
That's the only one that's made it through. But yeah, I love playing with those guys. It's so nice to have your mates on stage, and also because we've been playing together for so long, you know, everyone clicks really nicely. So yeah, it's always nice to play with them.
I remember in first year actually watching. You did the very first session orchestra?
Yes.
Right, and everyone was like, "Whoa, it's that guy."
That guy.
It was you and Donahue.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh my god, them two!" Like,
yeah, that's kind.
Yeah.
That was super fun. Especially coming straight into RMCM was to like do that straight away was cool. And that's partly how I became such good friends with Tom, was that we were doing that together. And it felt like a really big deal when we did it then. I think because it had been COVID, session orchestra hadn't been a thing for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So when we came in and we did it, it was like the first one back, and a lot of people had auditioned for it. So, and the set list was crazy. I think it's the best set list session orchestra has had since we've been here, because it was like 10. I think it was 10 years of session orchestra. So it was
all the best hits, yeah.
And I got to sing New York State of Mind by Billy Joel, which is literally like my favorite song.
Yeah, I was literally just going to say, was it that one? Have you done any since, or was that the only one?
I did. Yeah, I've done a couple since. I did one. I think I've only done one since, which was the 50th anniversary of RMTM.
Yeah.
I did that one.
Oh, was that
no,
it was ago?
There was a black music one, and then there was a like Best of Manchester Music, I think. Yeah. Which is the one that I did. But that one was I getting to sing one of my favorite songs with the orchestra, and my parents came, and it was it was really nice. So I think that's going to be my last song in my recital, and hopefully.
Really?
I think it's
Have you planned out your recital?
I've started doing it. I'm kind of in the midst of it at the moment, but I want to do a collection of my own songs, but also songs that have had a big part of my life over the last kind of 21 years. So that song's definitely going to be in there. Whether it's the last one, I don't know, but that's the plan anyway.
I remember you telling me like before, so you started like producing music when you were, was it 14?
Yeah, something like that.
Are there any songs that have like stuck since then, or like some that you've revisited being like, oh, I should come back to this song because it's actually quite good? Or
not since I was 14, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm the first to put my hands up and say like I was not good when I was younger. Yeah. And like even like I look back on stuff I did like 3 years ago, and I'm like, that's like really bad. Like I'm the first to say that, and I'm not saying like now I'm brilliant. I think it's music and songwriting is such a journey, and some people like progress quicker than others. I think for me it was more of a slow burner, and I'm grateful I did start doing it at such a young age, because I think only recently I've really figured out what I want to say with my music, and how important it is to be earnest and authentic to yourself and talk about personal experience and all this stuff. And so there's not a lot song wise that's made it through. There's a lot of like little production bits or little things that I draw from, or even like sitting at a guitar, there's lots of progressions or certain chords that I've got in older songs that I'll revisit. But there's a song, my next song coming out, Another Man, is a song I wrote when I was 18. So that song is kind of 4 years old now, which is like lasted the test of time. Yeah. But since I was 14, there's not a lot. I mean, there's some songs I remember. I remember the first song I wrote, which was when I was, I think, younger. I was like 12. I just left primary school, and I was going to a different school to everyone else in my year at primary school, just for secondary school. And I wrote a song called Moving On. And that was like the first song I wrote, and it was about so like sweet. I was going in a different direction to all of them.
Yeah. Do you still remember how to play it and like sing?
I have no idea.
No, nothing.
I just remember it was called Moving On. And I also ironically wrote a song when I was 13 called When I Was Young, which is like
13.
Bro, like
wow.
13 is like when I was young. Like, what are you on about? But it's a learning curve.
Yeah. See, even if actually people like our age now, like 22, wrote a song being when like when I was young, I'd be like, you're still so young.
Yeah. That annoys me, especially coming like at the back end of university. People always say, oh, we can't go to clubs anymore. We're like old now. We're like 21, 22. I'm like, in 20 years time, you're going to be kicking yourself thinking, when I was 22, why did I not like make the most of it? Like, we've got, your 20s are the best years of your life, and you're like being like, oh, should probably like settle down now. And, I'm not judging people who do that, but I'm like, we're still young. We can still go out and have a good time. But yeah. I don't think there's going to be any When I Was Young songs coming out anytime soon.
If there are any that come out before, I would say the minimum age of 40. Like very minute, because like actually that I like to think that people are still young until they reach 70.
Yeah, like I told my parents clubbing, and they're 55.
Really?
Yeah, I was in 42s with my mum like 2 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
They like live for the party.
I could not imagine my parents clubbing.
Well, they they're one of a kind. My parents.
They sound like cool parents.
They're good fun, and they still like a drink and a good dance. But you know, they're still young. They still go out and have a good time. So I just think it's a mindset.
No, it really is, because I remember in first year I used to go out like a lot, like in the first term, obviously, as everyone does.
Yeah.
And then second and third year I like barely went out, and now this year I'm like going out more and more.
Yeah.
But it's a thing of like you said, like everyone's like, oh, maybe we should actually try and chill, but like, no, we're literally 22.
Yeah, and I think especially in our last year, it's kind of like we can see the kind of end of being a student coming.
Oh, don't say that. Yeah.
Like St. Patrick's Day on Monday, I was umming and ahhing between, do I go to Liverpool, because a few of my friends were going to Liverpool, and I was like, I shouldn't go, but like this is going to be my last opportunity of being a student, and Liverpool's the place to go on Paddy's Day apparently. So I was
going to say, quite a few of my friends went to Liverpool as well. And I was like, what's going on in Liverpool?
It's the place to be apparently. I think because it's like the closest place to Ireland, so it's like everyone goes there.
Oh, okay.
But to be honest, it was like too busy. Like we queued for 2 hours for somewhere that we didn't actually get in the end, so we just kind of went to queue for ages. I mean, it was fine in the end. It was good fun, but it's like it's almost too popular now. But yeah, it's things like that where I'm like, I should stay in and save money and all this stuff. It's kind of like in 10 years time, I'm not going to look back and think, damn, why did I go on that night out in Liverpool? I should have stayed in and saved money. You're only a student once. So
was it fun though?
It was great fun. Yeah, it was really good fun. It's kind of a bit of a like farce paddy. It's the same as like Christmas now is like it's become such a commercial thing. That's basically, it's just an excuse for everyone to get really drunk, to take a day off work, and for places to sell loads of Guinness, basically. But who cares? It was good fun, and we had a good time. And, I love a Guinness, so
really,
yeah.
I've never had one ever.
Have you not? You've never had a Guinness?
I don't really drink. Okay, actually, I was gonna say I don't really drink full stop, but I've drunk like 5 times in the past like couple of weeks, which is a lot for me.
Alcoholic.
Okay, I usually drink 3 times a year.
Yeah, no, I know. I you said. I probably drunk 5 times in the last week, but that's just what I do every week.
But what was I gonna say? What were we talking about?
Guinness.
Yeah, I've never had a Guinness.
Never had a Guinness.
But I'm also not a fan of like beers and like.
To be fair, I mean, I can't. I'm not really one to talk because I only really got into Guinness in the last like year. But I think it's one of those that initially isn't very like I've never seen anyone try Guinness for the first time and be like, yeah, that's really nice. I think you've got to give it a bit of time.
Yeah.
Like I remember I went to Dublin. I went to the Guinness factory.
I was gonna say, have you had?
Which is the best Guinness there is. And even then, I was like, I'm not a massive fan. But now, I'm sure if I went back, I'd be like drinking water. It would just go straight down. It's so good.
I went to the Heineken factory in Amsterdam. I've been there twice.
Isn't there one here?
No, so there's. Sorry, I went to Heineken Museum in Amsterdam, but there is like a massive brewery
here.
It's like opposite the Asda.
The big Asda, yeah. I've seen that. I passed it a few times. It doesn't look particularly appealing.
No, it just kind of looks like.
It just looks like a factory, to be honest.
Well, it's Manchester as well.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
But on that note, because actually on your social media, I mean, obviously your social media is like your music. Social media, but you don't post much about like yourself.
Yes.
On there, are there any things that like people would like have never guessed about you, or like do you want like any fun facts or like secret talents?
That's a good question. I'm a very keen tennis player.
Really?
Is a fun fact about me. When I was kind of 12, my parents were having to kind of make the decision for me, as in whether I would try and be a professional tennis player or professional musician.
Wow.
And I think they settled for the easy option of not having to drive me around the country every weekend. is what my parents say anyway. Is like music was a very stay-at-home career, and if we had have gone down the tennis route, then I would have been in the city and everywhere around the country every weekend. So
are you quite good at it then?
I'm all right at it. I played at a fairly good level throughout my teenage years. I kind of was kind of county level, and then even now I still play a lot. So yeah, I post about it very, very, not very often, but I've done a few posts just for me like on the court. But so yeah, that's kind of one thing. I'm quite a big sports guy actually. I play a lot of squash as well.
Really? I actually had no idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You probably wouldn't know.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I've just I love rugby. Just been the Six Nations. I'm a Manchester United fan, so I like football as well. And sports has always been a big part of my life, but I don't really shout about it on social media.
I don't think I've ever seen it on your socials.
Yeah. Do you play tennis? You play sport?
I don't play anything. I used to do. I'm not a big fan of team sports. I've realized. I used to
you just don't like people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was an introvert, but then I retook the MBTI test, and I'm an extrovert now.
Really?
By 4%.
Wow.
I know, crazy.
I didn't know you could do a test for that.
Yeah, you should do it. It's on 16 past. We did a Galentine's night thing, and all of us were there, sat there doing the MBTIs.
Has Galentine's always been a word? Because I've only heard it like this year.
It's definitely been there for the past few years.
Yeah, like suddenly this year, everyone did all the girls did Galentine's.
Well, maybe everyone. No, but to be fair, even
what's the guy version? Galentine's. Yeah, you don't see that much, though, do you?
Ladentines. No, I don't think guys do anything for Galentine's though. For Valentine's.
No, that's true.
Because well, a lot of them are like, "Oh, that's gay, isn't it?" So.
Yeah, that's just lads, though. Yeah, that is true. That's something we would do. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, that's completely off topic. What you were saying?
No, but I'm not a big fan of team sports. I feel like I play. Well, I used to do diving and swimming. I used to dance as well.
Nice. You used to do diving, like 10-meter diving.
Yeah, I did diving at the Crystal Palace Diving School, which is where Tom Daly is that his name? Yeah, Tom Daly. That's where he went. No, did that for a year.
That's mental.
And then my mum took me out of it because music.
Could you do the flips and everything? Or is it just
a fair bit?
Could you?
Not insanely.
Because I think that's one of the hardest Olympic sports.
Yeah.
Like synchronized 10-meter diving. I'm like, how do you learn to do that? You know what I mean? It's like there's no mid. I mean, I guess you can progress your way up, but you just suddenly just do a load of flips off it. I mean, I know you can train in foam is what they all do, but it's quite hard to replicate a 10-meter diving board without just doing it.
Yeah, you've kind of just got to get used to falling.
Yeah, and it's just how they do it synchronized, and then they just land and there's just no splash. It's I just think it's mental.
It's a lot of training, but I guess they could say the same thing about music. I don't get how you can.
Yeah, I guess
play the guitar.
Yeah, I'm just so talented.
I mean, clearly you do a lot of things.
That was a joke, by the way. I'm just
no. So, were you good at academics in school?
Yeah. I don't want to come across as I was really smart, but I was going to do chemical engineering at university.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you're basically just an all rounder in music sports.
I don't want to say that though, because that sounds like I'm thinking I'm good at everything. I don't think that, but I tried to do a lot of things. I kind of threw myself at a lot of things when I was younger, and tried to, mainly because I didn't want to feel like I was missing out on anything, especially with sports and music. I was into music from a young age, but I was also pushed down the tennis route at a young age. And it's also you want to be with your mates, and a big part of being with your mates is playing rugby or playing hockey and all this stuff. So I was a big part of that. And then the academic stuff, I don't think I was that naturally academic. I'm just very hardworking. That's one thing I will say, is that if I do something, I'm going to do it 110%.
Yeah.
And I was at school, everyone says you need to work really hard, and I was like, well, I need to work really hard, so I would revise those. So I don't think I was particularly naturally smart when it came to academic subjects. I just worked really hard at them.
Yeah.
And then when I applied to university, I applied to down the straight UCAS. I applied to do chemical engineering at all sorts of different places, and then the UCAS Conservatoire, I applied to RNCM and literally just RNCM. And I was kind of umming and ahhing between the two. And then I got into RNCM. I didn't get into Cambridge. And then I got into UCL. So I was like between the two. And I was like, do I actually want to do chemical engineering? Like, do I actually want to do that? And then I was like, someone is offering me a place to do music at like the best place you can to do pop music in Europe. Why would I turn that down? And I never looked back. And I'm so glad that I did that and made that decision, because, you know, I have so many mates who are doing engineering degrees or more academic degrees who kind of look at what I'm doing, and they're not like envious of it, but they kind of, you know, are now realizing that, you know, if you can do what you love, then
do what you love.
Exactly.
RNCM.
But it's true, you know, if you can make a career out of what you enjoy doing. Like, one of my best mates from school went and did a politics degree and is now wanting to go more into drama. Like, I met up with him last week and he's been doing loads of drama recently. He's realized, actually, I love doing drama stuff and I think I'm more wanting to go down that route. And it was kind of like really shone a light on the fact that I probably did make the right decision, because if I'd have done chemical engineering, I'd have been doing something I'm not that interested in just for the sake of doing an academic degree. So do what you love. They're not wrong.
No.
RNCM.
Endless possibilities.
Is that another one, or is that?
Yeah, it's endless possibilities. Do what you love. Where will your love of music take you? I think
you've got this lot. It's almost like you're there like every day for like 24 hours.
I know, who would have guessed? It's like, not that it's on the stairs or like on the building everywhere or anything.
I've never seen what was the last one?
Where will your love of music take you?
Take
it's, you know, when you go up to upper concourse, they're
it's
all there,
stairs.
all there. Yeah.
Genius.
Typical, you take a photo there like after a concert, you're like, yay.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you about your meal deal.
Yes.
Do you want to whack it out?
Whack it out.
I always forget until the end, and I'm like, oh, I need to ask.
I feel we were talking about songwriting, wearing your heart on your sleeve. I feel like this is more exposing.
Really? So actually, I think almost every single episode where someone's brought a meal deal.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. So far, every episode, I've mentioned your name.
Really?
Because I've always said that you've been the guy to give me this idea. Yeah. So here you are.
Here I am, doing it for myself.
Off you go.
So I must say before that I genuinely, and I'm not just saying this, I do tend to get something different every day when it comes to the sandwich.
Okay.
I'm always a sandwich guy.
Okay.
Today I've gone for chicken and chorizo. I always like it. Chorizo is just like the best thing ever made, and best food like ever made.
Really?
Because you can have chorizo with everything and it's going to be nice. I mean, other than like chocolate. But chorizos, you know, I'm mostly always a chicken sandwich kind of person. Either chicken chorizo or chicken and pesto, and chicken pesto mozzarella, which is nice. But yeah, I've gone for that today. I'm pretty much always getting apple juice, because I think everyone always says how unhealthy meal deals are, and even though this is full of sugar, I somehow think this is kind of healthy. Out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always tend to get this or the innocent apple juice, and then I've got a Nature Valley protein bar, which is. Have you had one of these before?
No.
This is like really nice, and it's.
What flavour is it?
I don't actually. It's white chocolate, salted caramel, and it's got like a white chocolate base.
Oh, I'm not a fan of white chocolate.
Are you not?
I don't have a massive sweet tooth.
Really?
No, so I'm.
That's the lucky thing to have.
I love dark chocolate.
See, that's just rogue though.
No, it's not.
You don't like chocolate, but you like dark chocolate.
I like anything above 75%. Anything below is too sweet for me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't eat milk chocolate at all. Like when I was a kid.
That is mad to me.
It's always been like that. Even when I was a kid, like I used to eat a little bit of milk chocolate, but then I would never eat white, and now it's just gone all the way. Yeah.
That's mad. I feel like everyone who eats chocolate doesn't like dark chocolate, so maybe you either have one. I mean,
really,
people do like dark chocolate. Don't get me wrong, but like I don't know anyone who likes chocolate who would rather have dark chocolate than like a Cadbury's Dairy Milk.
No,
I don't know many people. I couldn't name a single person who would rather dark chocolate. Like, you know, when you're having like the Lints. Oh, you probably don't know this because you don't like chocolate.
They have dark chocolate Lints.
Yeah, exactly. But if you get the mixed Lints and then you pick out a dark chocolate one, no one's thinking, "Oh, I'm so glad I've got that one," rather than the red ones. No one ever thinks that. you know, or when you've got
I feel like people do.
Okay, maybe you do because
maybe
you're
just,
a weirdo though, is basically what you're saying.
Okay, cool.
But when you've got like a selection box
Yeah.
of like nice chocolates, and everyone always scans the menu, and there's always 2 that are left over, and they're always the dark chocolate ones, or the ones that they put like weird fruity stuff in them.
Oh yeah, but I feel like whenever
fruit and chocolate, very overrated. Chocolate orange, get out.
I quite like chocolate orange actually, but
clearly what we've established is we're very different when it comes to chocolate.
Well, I wouldn't choose chocolate orange as my my top chocolate. I think actually I really love like nuts.
Yeah, Ferrero Rocher.
Yeah,
that's the creme.
Okay, so I do like Ferrero Rocher. I've got a whole bag.
That's basically just Nutella in like a chocolate.
It's so good.
So good.
So good. Did you used to eat them like layer by layer?
No.
I used to do that sometimes.
No, I'm not holding back. They were one god. Yeah. But yeah, they're probably my favorite. I mean, Cadbury's Dairy Milk, you can't go wrong. I mean, that's just always hits the spot.
Not for me. I'm trying to think what my favorite chocolate is. This is going to be really, really specific, and it's not a chocolate that you can buy, but you know, like tempered chocolate that you get on desserts and like, and it's like crispy.
Bit rogue.
It's really specific, but it's really good. But that's my favorite type of chocolate, I think.
Yeah. I don't trust your opinion in chocolate, to be honest. If you don't like milk chocolate, then
it's just too sweet.
It's just not, though. You're just wrong.
We'll have to agree to disagree.
No, it's good. I'm jealous. I'm jealous because, you know, chocolate is so bad for you. So if you don't like it, then you're on for a winner there.
See, I don't remember the last time I had chocolate, actually. Yeah. Yeah,
neither. It's only like this morning. No, I didn't have chocolate this morning. I probably had it yesterday. It's just so good. It's just... Does this count as chocolate?
Oh, actually, I'd say that about my protein powder is chocolate flavour. Actually, so...
There you go.
But I want to switch it to vanilla, though, actually.
Do it.
So... Well, I've got a bag and a half left, so I need to finish them first.
Do you put it in a drink?
Yeah. I put it in... If I'm making just a regular protein shake, then I'll have chocolate powder, a shot of coffee, and peanut butter. But if I'm making a smoothie, then it's the same but with dates. And I always make it with oat milk as well. But I put dates in the smoothie.
Why do you make it with oat milk?
It tastes better. I've been using oat milk for everything recently.
Really?
Like there was one time I ran out of normal milk and I was making mashed potatoes. So I put a little bit of oat milk in. Actually, it was really good.
Really?
Yeah.
I just think it tastes like cardboard.
I think if you drink it by itself, it does taste a bit strange.
I remember one of the most criminal things is when when you expect something to taste a certain way, particularly when it has like a cup of tea. Like I'm from Yorkshire, and a Yorkshire tea is like, I know what a Yorkshire tea tastes like.
Yeah.
With milk, with normal milk.
Normal milk. But
I went to the studio one time, and the guy who made me the tea didn't tell me it was oat milk, which, I'm not, fair enough, it's oat milk. He didn't have any other milk, but at least give me a pre-warning.
Yeah, if you drink it. And then
I drank it and I was like, I've literally just drank a cardboard box. It was like so confusing. Yeah. And it's like, it was really like, it's part of the reason. Have I ever told you why I don't like coffee?
I was about to ask, do you like coffee?
Yeah, no, I don't like coffee. But there's a really like, not particularly nice story of why I do. Isn't it? It's quite funny. So when I was like 14, I went on a tennis trip to Portugal with all like my schoolmates. And I'd asked for one of my friends to fill up my bottle with water because we were going out to a tennis session. I can't remember what I was doing, but I was somewhere else. And then I came back and he said, oh, there you go. He gave it to me. And I drank it. And when it's like what I'm saying, when you are expecting something to taste a certain way and then it doesn't, it's kind of like, oh my God, what is that? And basically, it's not very nice. He's like, yeah, I just shit in your water bottle. And I was like, what? And then I was like sick. And basically all he'd done is he'd put a Portuguese coffee that was just like a bit weird in my... And like, it was because it almost tasted so bad that it could have been anything. And he just thought it'd be funny to tell me that. And now every time I've had coffee since, I just associate that experience with coffee.
Oh, that's such a shame.
Which is so sad because when someone makes a coffee and I smell it, I'm like, that smells so nice. every time I go to drink it, I'm hoping it'll like come back round, and at some point I'll get over it.
I think you've got to make a new association with coffee. A new association with coffee. Yeah.
It's hard to get a better one than that, though.
I say that's quite extreme.
That's quite like, it's hard to get that out of your mind.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to be like, I'm never going to be one of those people who likes coffee.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with my hot chocolates. And then I think it was sometime around second year, hot chocolate started getting too sweet for me.
Right.
So I was like, I'll get a mocha. And then that became too sweet for me, and I've just gone for... Then I had a coffee with sugar.
Yeah.
And then in January, I did the whole no sugar thing. So now I'm just on straight...
Really?
Milk and coffee. Yeah.
Wow. It's one of those things, it's similar to chocolate. I'm quite glad, and I don't have a problem with the fact that I don't like coffee, because I've, my parents love coffee. I have so many friends who love coffee, and actually, if you're going and buying people, like, I know people go and get a coffee every morning. I mean, you're spending like a lot, like £3 a day minimum on just going to get coffee. But there are elements, when I was in America, like, everyone socializes by going to get coffee. It's like, what do you get? Like, because they don't have tea in America, really.
Yeah.
So, what do you get? Like,
do you like the taste of coffee? Oh, I guess. Is it the taste that puts you off?
Yeah, it's just it's too bitter for me, I think. Like, I like an espresso martini, but that's, when it's got some sugar in it. But yeah, it's just a kind of bitter. I can drink a mocha. Like, if someone gets me a mocha, then I'll drink it.
Yeah.
But I'm still just a bit like, it's just a bit bitter for me.
Wow, I love coffee.
Maybe I'll come round though.
Well, that's why I've got a coffee machine now, so I can stop.
You got a proper one as well. You've got the full on, like.
But then I still spend money on coffee, so
yeah,
it's like a never-ending
thing. What do you get when you go and get a coffee? You just
iced oat latte, almost always, or a hot one. But I feel like I usually go for an iced one.
Really? But when it's cold, even like if you're in Manchester and it's like 0 degrees, you're getting an iced coffee.
No, so if I'm outside in the cold, I always get a hot coffee. But if I'm in, RTM's always really stuffy.
They don't do iced coffee.
No, they don't. But like, I'll get one like before rehearsal, even if it's cold. Like now, I'll get one. So
today's a perfect day for an iced coffee.
Yeah, but by the time I get to my rehearsal, it'll be nice because it's like a stuffy room, but iced coffee.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. I've just never understood iced, like, hot drinks. It's not really like iced coffee is.
Have you been to Knoop's?
No.
Oh my god, we should go at some point. But they basically just do chocolate drinks, and they've got loads of different percentages of chocolate.
Right.
Depending on what you like. Yeah. They do really good iced chocolates actually, and they're really, really good for the summer.
I'll check it out.
Back to the music thing, just because we got to sort of round this up.
Yeah.
You're releasing 2 EPs this year?
I am releasing 2 EPs this year, yeah.
Say some
Talk about them.
Yeah, please.
So yeah, I'm putting out 2 EPs, 2 5-track EPs, and they basically cover 2 sides to my artistry. I'll let the police car go past.
It makes a really great sample for music, actually.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
Yeah. When I do my loops, sometimes the police goes, and I'm like, okay, thanks.
So yeah, I've got 2 sides to my artistry: the kind of more upbeat, kind of poppy side, and then the more kind of stripped back singer-songwriter side, which is more kind of back to my roots, singing, playing guitar, singing at piano, where I kind of started making music. And I wanted them to kind of coexist in the same world, because I love when I play live, playing upbeat stuff, which almost always like connects with the crowd, and then having those moments where it's just me and a guitar, and people kind of sit and listen. So I wanted to have those both sides and them to coexist. So that's where the idea for these 2 EPs came out. And I've put out so far 2 tracks from the upbeat one, and then Lucy's Diamonds, which came out a month ago actually, which is the first track from the second EP, and then Another Man, featuring yours truly, comes out in 2 weeks today, on the 2nd of April, or will have come out when this comes out 2 weeks ago. So I'm basically just drip feeding songs from both of these EPs, and then they'll be released at some point later in the year. Date to be announced. But yeah, it's kind of the first proper bulk of music that I'm putting out, and I'm really, happy with the songs, and I really like how the more stripped back one is. I'm kind of more putting my heart on a plate and kind of saying really personal stuff, and I really like that side of it, because feels like you're getting a slice of me, and it's kind of very honest and vulnerable. And then the more upbeat stuff is still got elements of that, and especially with the lyrical stuff, you know, I'm talking about, you know, being a young adult, dealing with pressure and dealing with stress and dealing with, you know, I've got a song on there called Devil's Water, which is all about, you know, alcohol and, you know, the impact of alcohol on young people. And the song Lucy's Diamonds came out, which is a similar thing. It's about drugs, and it's about the impact of drugs on young people. And I'm just trying to cover these relatable topics which so many of us go through, but I've gone through as well, and I've seen people around me go through. And going back to what I've said the whole way through, I think being an artist that's so important, to be honest and be true to yourself and your own personal experience. Because you know, Lucy Diamonds is the song that's resonated with the most people that I put out to date. And I think the reason for that is it's very honest and relatable, and it's a very, you know, pressing topic that people go through in all aspects of life, I think. So yeah, that'll be coming out later this year, so stay tuned.
Roughly, do you know?
So it'll be the 2 EPs will come out a month apart. The first one is looking for a July release, and the second one probably September.
Okay.
But things can chop and change. All the music's done, like it's all
finished.
It's all, like, I could play it all to you right now, but obviously with releasing music, it's not as simple as that.
Yeah.
So it's all there and ready to go. It's just I'll be drip feeding each one for the next sort of like 4 or 5 months. So
I'm very excited to hear Another Man, obviously, which will be out by the time this is out. But I'm so excited.
Sounds really nice.
Well, I remember getting really, really excited when we were recording.
Yeah. You've heard a version of it though.
I've heard a version. I don't know if that's the version.
That's not the final version. No, it's been through a few amendments since there, but it sounds really nice. So
yeah, again, I remember getting so excited.
Yeah.
In the studio.
Yeah, the strings have added another level. So
are you gigging any of these like songs like soon?
Yes, I've got a gig. Well, it'll be in the past by the time this comes out.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, I'm playing in London in next week, and then I've got a bit of. I'm away in April. I'm going to Thailand actually in April.
Whoa! Why?
I have family who have a house out there, so it's somewhere we've always wanted to go. So we're going out there for a couple of weeks, which will be amazing. Never been before.
So enjoy.
So I've got a bit of a window where I'm not in the country, but then I'm hopefully going to be playing again. Got a few things in the works, sort of end of April, early May time, and then into the summer where there's normally the biggest bulk of gigs. So
are you doing any festivals this year?
Again, there's things in the works at the moment. There's nothing like officially like booked in, but hopefully is the plan. I've got one booked down right at the end of September, down in London. But you know, a lot will change between now and then. So I'm sure there'll be lots that'll be on socials about everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, on that note, again, as usual, I'll put his socials on in the description. Thanks for coming to do an episode.
Thank you.
It's actually not that the past haven't been interesting conversations, but it was a very interesting conversation.
Thank you. Me too.
I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.